What if we talked about suicide prevention before someone reached the breaking point? Welcome to the SPiRiT series, where real conversations about mental health, physical well-being, overwhelm, burnout, and the invisible battles that can sometimes become too heavy to carry alone. Today, we're honored to introduce Amelia Young and her daughter Jules. Two voices bringing their stories, passion, and lived experience. Two voices bringing their stories, passion, and lived experience to a conversation that could change a life. Because prevention isn't just about recognizing a crisis, it's about learning to listen to ourselves before the crisis. It's about connection, aware. Hello.
Hello. So
Oh,
I'm here now.
it's tell me a little bit more why you started suicide prevention, SPiRiT.
Why did I start SPiRiT? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's see. SPiRiT stands for Suicide Prevention Roundtable. And I guess the idea of it has been fermenting inside me for a very long time, probably decades. And let's see, let me think. Why did I start it this time? Hmm,
I
trying to
think I know
think.
why.
You do?
I think so.
Why don't you say it and then I'll see if you're correct.
Based on your story, well, the that post that you had shared, right, about that gentleman,
Oh, yes,
right?
that's
Isn't
right.
it?
Him. Yes, you're right. You're right. The Memorial Day weekend of this year, 2026. I was at a I was I was in Dallas, getting ready to attend a 3-day a 3-day event there based on my spiritual path, and we drove from Houston to Dallas, me and Jules. And when we arrived, when we arrived at the hotel, just as I was getting ready to go to bed, I received a text from somebody I hadn't connected with in maybe about a couple of years or so. And anyway, so that was unexpected, and he was thanking me for reaching out to him, and that he hadn't been feeling so good, something like that. And I had reached out to him just kind of it wasn't him only. I had sent texts to a whole glut of people, a lot of contacts, just to let people know that I had a YouTube channel. So he was among the people, and when I came across his name, I was thinking, should I send him something? Because I hadn't, spoken to him in 2 years. But then I went ahead and did it, right? And then so that night he had texted me and said he wasn't feeling so great, and he thanked me for reaching out. So then I answered him back. I texted him back and asked him what's going on, and yeah. So anyway, in that short text conversation, I find out that he was really not feeling good, in the sense that he was depressed. So I asked him, on a rate of 1 to 10, where 1 is the least depressed, 10 being the most, where are you at? And I was thinking maybe like 6 or 7, but he said 10. And so then I was like, I realized that, okay, that means that I need to keep him talking. I should stay with him, and I am the 988 crisis line. There's no, trying to refer him to somebody else, or the hotline. So yeah, so I ended up talking with him for about 2 hours that night, and somehow towards the last half of that conversation, or actually the last 30 minutes of that conversation, uh, because I was calling him, I actually talked to him on the phone. um, I made him laugh. I made him laugh because I basically just said, shit is everywhere outside us, all around us. And if you have shit inside you, then everything is very, very shitty, and shit needs to come out. Oops, and I think you're probably bleeping me this whole time I'm
Nope.
speaking. No?
This is all adults information here. There's no
Yes.
bleeping here.
Yeah, so I said that, and that just cracked him up completely. And then after that, he couldn't stop laughing. And then plus, we connected on the fact that he has visited Bali, Indonesia. And so we talked about that, and so forth. So it was really great. So finally, at the end, I was able to let him go without fearing for his life. And then the following morning, he texted me and asked if we could talk again at night because talking with me had given him hope. So I said, yeah, sure, of course. And so that night I called him back and we talked for an hour and a half. But that whole hour and a half, we were just laughing and laughing and laughing and laughing. It was so cathartic, and yeah, it was very therapeutic for him, but it was also therapeutic for me. And as I later told him, that was uh, that was a mile marking moment for me as it was for him, because really since that one weekend, he has, dramatically changed for the better. It was such an amazing recovery, and so it was a huge thing for him, but it was so for me as well. And the epiphany that I had that weekend was that, because before that, I had never wanted to put on the mantle of being a spokesperson, I guess, for suicide prevention. Because even though I'd been doing it, since I was 16, I felt I've I wasn't confident, I guess, in myself. I thought it was, first of all, it's a huge responsibility, right, to be someone like that. And then also I was thinking, well, what if it's just a habit, or a reaction, it's
Mhm.
so yeah, so I never really owned it completely. And so after that incident with this Marine, I it just the answer came to me very clearly, and that was no. This is not a habit, it's not reaction, it's a gift, and you have it, and others need it. So, go ahead and own it already, put that mantle on. And so since that time, um, I took that step from then on. And so let's see. And then when did I come up with this suicide prevention thing? That was like about a couple of weeks ago, right? And so it was in July. So that so the incident with the Marine
Was it mid-July
was it,
something?
yeah, it would have been mid-July, yes. So the thing with the Marine was towards the end of May, right? So May, June, July. So a couple of months, right? Um, and during those 2 months, I had been more and more talking about suicide prevention. In fact, I had been kind of video blogging my journey with one of the things I'm involved with, and I talked a lot about suicide prevention because I shared the story about this Marine. And so yeah, so then mid-July, I just happened to talk to I talked to Lena of Lena's Asian Kitchen. In fact, I was just texting her. How did that come up, really? Oh, yes, I was trying to look for a place for my event in September, my 55th birthday, that I was going to uh, do something special, also in honor of September being Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, which was what I did last year. I did an event in September, also on my birthday. So I was just asking about that, and then Lena and we had like a back and forth via text. And anyway, at the end of it all, she went ahead and offered her restaurant as a meeting place for my group. And I knew that the group that I wanted to create was one that was based on the issue that that means a lot to me, which is suicide prevention. So, and then I came up with the acronym because I do that. I love acronyms. And yeah, so I guess that's what. And the whole idea behind it was just to just to hold space to allow people who are coming together because of the topic of suicide or suicide prevention, which is actually a very personal thing. So you are bringing in people from all kinds of backgrounds, and it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, successful or not successful, famous or not famous, young or old, or
Oh no, she froze.
whatever.
You froze.
Yes, we all froze. You froze too. What did you get?
It was a place to come together, and then it started.
Okay, so um, because the topic of suicide is very personal and it is something that does not distinguish whether you are, young or old, rich or poor, successful or not successful, um, famous or not famous, etc.,
Mhm.
etc. And it's so personal and it's so tragic that that's the only thing that would bring us all together, right? Just that topic. It's very how would you say it? Um, Democratizing. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's equal in the face of that tragedy, let's just say.
Mhm.
So that was really the key part that I wanted to do was bring people together around that topic so that we could start um, doing something about it, you know? And I guess doing something about it really starts with being able to talk about it freely, being able to express yourself. And therefore, I wanted to just have uh, the opportunity to hold space for people to come together on that subject and see what happens, you know. And that first meeting was exactly how I was hoping it would turn out, and that was for people to actually, just talk about things and then really break down the barriers and find support and friendship and also opportunities for collaboration with our work, and that's exactly what happened on that first meeting. So yeah, so that's what it is.
Wow. So what I hear you saying is basically no matter who you are, what you've accomplished and all that, it's basically very much a human experience. And if
Hmm.
you're a human being, then you could potentially experience, you know,
Absolutely.
the ups and downs because it's like the waves, right? And then
Hmm.
also Jules chimed in on the chat. She says she does love acronyms. I can attest to that. Thumbs up.
Yes,
So,
yes.
and yes, I was there at the first meeting and it was very profound. And I think it's just that space where you can share why, like what connection you have to suicide prevention. And I think that was very much the first meeting in person. And I was blown away. I was just like, what is this?
Yeah,
um, and it's really amazing to see just how much of a connection we all can have when we actually open up and our mask and our walls go down. And I think,
absolutely.
correct me if I'm wrong, but what it seems like it's your goal is just to have people connect and share, and that's helping us day by day just to be able to have hope, remember that we are humans and it's okay to feel and it's okay to just be another human being and
Hmm.
all emotions are welcome,
Hmm. Hmm.
essentially.
Yeah, I do believe it's important to express yourself, okay?
Mhm.
Because um, that's what I'm seeing. I mean, as somebody who does energy healing work, and I've been doing this for a very long time, ultimately, disease occurs in our body because, almost like to put it simply, it's because of a lack of self-expression, really. You know, feelings, emotions are stuck inside, and then they just ferment and become really bad, really rotten, and then boom, then suddenly you manifested some terrible illness. um so and then so many people are just not being who they are. They hold so much inside, and yeah, and everything that I have done in my life is about self-expression, in all the different ways. And now, specifically in regards to suicide, also when you think about it, for example, a lot of people are afraid of bringing the topic of suicide in conversation because they're afraid um, that it's contagious, that it would inspire suicidal behavior or something. And I would say it's the opposite. I would say that if somebody who was feeling suicidal was given the opportunity to express him or herself, then if they're talking about it, then they're not gonna proceed with the act. You see, uh, whereas if you're not gonna, if you keep it all inside and you don't feel safe enough to talk about it with anyone, these are the people who end up just doing it and catch everybody by surprise, because everybody's thinking, hey, I didn't know he or she was so unhappy or whatever, right? This person was handling their inner demons um, all by themselves, right? Behind an exterior of happiness and normalcy and all that stuff, and people didn't look past their mask. So that's why I think the key thing here, the most important thing, is to be able to express yourself and to have the safe space to do so, you know? And I mean, for me, my whole life is such that I apparently put people at ease to where, people very often just easily just tell me their whole life story. So yeah, so that's what it's about.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for clarifying that. But I think a lot of people would want to know your
Hmm.
story, like suicide prevention. Like, what you said you've done it since you were 16. So,
Mm, right, right. Okay. So, when I was 16, I prevented my mother's suicide, and it was something that just happened very naturally. Um, what? Okay, so um, my mom, I would say, had undiagnosed depression, very severe, and we lived in Southeast Asia at that time, and so that's not the kind of thing that is discussed in society, and just not, at least at that time. I don't know how it is now, but at that time it's just not something that people know about, mental health, mental illness, and all that stuff. Certainly not talked about. But anyway, so one morning I heard her in despair. She was crying. She was crying for her mother, and it wasn't so much the words as it was the pain uh, behind her voice that drew me, because I shared a bedroom with my siblings, all four of them, and it was a small apartment, it was a small flat, so I'm sure my siblings heard it too, but for me it was like it just drove me to get up and go see what was going on. And I saw my father in the kitchen looking through this kind of like a glass window that separated the kitchen from the area where the oven was. And the oven was in a kind of like a cubicle, and the door was locked, and my mother was in there next to the oven, right? And she was crying, and I just heard my father trying to talk to her, but he was saying all the wrong things. Just all the wrong things. And so then me, and I was about 16, I um I just started speaking up for my mom, and I basically scolded my father, but my father listened, and I could tell that my mother's energy changed, that she had stopped crying for one thing, and yeah, just something changed. And at that time, I didn't know anything about energy, but I understand now that I sensed the heaviness just kind of lifting, right? Anyway, so what happened was she unlocked the door, and my father was able to, get her out and all that stuff. And that was it. It was just and my father said to me, what was it that he said? He said that, uh, oh gosh, I can't remember his exact words, but he said something about that I would do great things in the future or something, Anyway, so that's interesting. I haven't remembered that in a long time. Anyway, so that was it. But what happened, and that was a mile marking moment, because before that time, I was the rebellious one among all my siblings. And I always talked back at my father. Well, I really did, because I don't know, I had daddy issues. And so anyway, so yeah, so I was the rebellious one. I was the one who always talked back at my father, and I was just uh, yeah, I was like that. Um, but then after that incident, I literally made a change in my attitude. I bit my tongue. You see, I that was like the intention behind my change in behavior was to bite my tongue. And And then after that, I became my mother's sponge, all the pain that she had, I just listened. I said nothing. I just listened. I became a listener to her pain, and I just absorbed it, absorbed it, absorbed it. And I would, um, I would run my hands through her hair because that made her feel good. It was very relaxing. And as she poured out her pain, right? And I just absorbed and absorbed and absorbed. There were many nights like that. Yeah, and yeah, so that's what happened. So I changed. I changed from that point onwards. And and then after that, I just became my mother's mother, and of course my father's mother as well, right? And my father traveled a lot, so a lot of the times my mom was a single mom, so to speak, and with 5 kids and always moving from one place to another, and we didn't have family around because both parents kind of ran away from their roots. So it was not easy, especially for someone who was actually probably suffering from depression or maybe, I don't know, perimenopause or who knows what, right? All kinds of things.
Mhm.
But she was very, very, very unhappy. And I absorbed all of that and all her pain from my father, having not been, you know, a faithful man. So she had a lot
Mhm.
of anger in that regard. So I had a lot of anger against my father and against men in general, and I hated men and I hated sex. It was, yeah. Anyway, but so that changed the trajectory of my life completely because by not by kind of like, well, first of all, by biting my tongue and therefore not expressing myself, right?
Mhm.
And also feeling like I had to take care of my parents instead of my parents taking care of me. Those were not very good ingredients for a young person who then made lots of important life-changing decisions on her own, instead of talking about it with her parents, especially her mother, and just making decisions that were not the right decisions. So, and that affected the rest of my life. I mean, yeah. So, but yeah, so that's what happened. So yeah, so as you can see, I was a suicide preventer since I was 16. And also another thing, when that happened, again, it was like there was no thought. The only thing was that I was moved because of the pain, right? It wasn't really even her crying or what she was saying. It was just the feeling of pain just kind of made me get up and drove me there. And then it was like a switch was turned on in my head, and it was like I just knew what to say, what to do, what
Mhm.
to say, to diffuse the situation, and that's what I did. And so, after that particular one, that was just how it was with me when it came to people feeling like that. I just, a switch would just turn on, and I
You
would
just
just,
know, you
yeah,
just feel it.
exactly.
Spidey
Anyway,
senses.
yeah, yeah, yes,
So
and
I
yeah.
think it would be helpful to share with the audience, whoever the audience may be, maybe what your dad, not necessarily verbatim what your dad was saying, but if you can share what were the things that he was saying that made it worse for your mom, when she was feeling the lows of lows, when she was in that trench.
Okay, so I can't remember exactly, but I know what was the gist of their struggle
Mhm.
with each other, okay? Because that at that time, like I said, my father was often away, and so my mom was kind of like a single mother. And because of our moving around so much and having such an unstable life, we had some pretty serious family crisis in the family involving the children, right? And then my mother what she wanted from my father mm, was for him to back her up, because obviously as kids we were all being very rebellious, and she was trying to keep us in line because she would have to, and some of the things we did were really not good. So she was trying to do that, but she was a single mom basically, right? And so whenever my father was around, she wanted him to back her up, but then he didn't do that. And um and my mother being a very emotional person, and also when she gets angry or when she gets emotional, when she speaks, she can be very, very blunt and very harsh. That's just the kind of person that she is, right? My father was more diplomatic, right? And so, the words would just come out wrong, so to speak, with my mother, but he should have understood her, right? And therefore backed her up and things like that. But instead, he was not sensitive to that, and and being the occasional father, because he traveled so much, he didn't know, uh, he didn't perceive, right, the gravity of all the various situations, right? So he was listening to everybody, and I guess he was trying to be fair when really what he should have done was just, back up his wife. That's all that he needed to do, you know?
So he was trying to reason with her in a way.
Yes, yes, yes,
That
that
is
kind
the
of
wrong
thing.
thing to say.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
Yes. The
And
gist of it, that is the wrong thing to say, especially
yeah.
in those moments. It's more like, okay, I can see you, I hear you,
That's
but
what she needed, was to be
hmm
seen, heard, and understood. And she always needed that from him all the time, every time. But he was just clueless, he just wasn't, he didn't understand, you see. And so, and then when you are so depressed, so in despair that you've got your head in the oven, to continue to talk like that is just, that is like the last thing
that's putting more
that,
wood into the
yes, yes,
fire. Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's I think that's helpful for people to recognize is that there's no reasoning with
Mm-mm.
anyone when they're in that
Despair.
space in their
Yeah.
mind. It's very much like it's you can see them switching back and
Mhm.
forth from, you know, reality to they're just somewhere else because it's almost like their body is wanting to protect them, but at the
Mhm.
same time, in those moments, their body is also it's like it's at war. It's fighting each
Mhm.
other.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Mhm.
wow,
So the thing is to be present. Being present is like the most important thing. You don't have to say or do anything, but just be there for that person and listen to them. Just let them speak. And it may be things that are hurtful. It may be things that are scary. Like for example, if you're a mom and you're listening to your child talking about suicide, right? That's the last thing a mother wants to hear. Okay, it is very hard for a mother to hear that coming from her own child. But to tell you the truth, that's the best thing that you could do, because by letting them talk about it, and you, the mother, actually being present to listen, that is the remedy. That is the remedy.
yeah, it's not solutions, no, nothing. That is very much so. It's almost like I see you, I hear you, and I understand. Again, repeating the same thing to be
Hmm.
seen, to be heard, and be
And to be
understood.
understood, and that is your thing. That's
It is.
your that's
That's
your
my thing.
work. That's your work motto, man. So you see how powerful that is, and yeah, that is super important, and that's the reason why you yourself are also a suicide preventer. See
Yeah,
that? See?
it
So
is. It is.
yeah, you and me both, the stuff we experienced in our childhood, it makes us the people who we are today with our particular gift, right? For helping. It's very interesting, isn't it?
It is. I think
Yeah.
that that gift and us experiencing these things actually helps us see, mental health, psychology in a deeper way. It's more of a, it's not just mental, it's like it's spiritual. It's something that you can't see and it's all intertwined, but yet it's separate, kind of, but it's connected, which is very weird and awkward to say because it's like, how do you say something's connected, but it's not connected?
Okay, so it's like this, okay? First of all, I would say, um, and this is coming from, again, the energy medicine perspective, because Mm, I would say it's a spiritual thing, and that's what's lacking, I would say, in a lot of the treatments and therapies. If you don't have that spirituality, which is not like one religion or another, but just the essence of spirituality, then it would be really hard to mend a broken spirit. Because when somebody is suicidal or at the edge, their spirit has broken, and
Yep.
that's what needs to be put back together. You see, mended is the spirit. But if you know nothing about the spirit, then how can you help, right? So, and also, um, and there was something else I was going to say, but I can't think of it right now. Hopefully, it'll come back. But yeah, something. Oh, yes, yes, because you were talking about how it's like it's separate, but it's one. Okay, and this
Hmm.
is this is how I see it. Okay, it's like, for example, when you are studying human anatomy, then all the different systems of the body are categorized in their particular, uh, system, right? Like you've got the cardiovascular, you've got the nervous system, you've got the endocrine system, you've got the lymphatic, et cetera, right?
Mhm.
Uh, and why do we do that? We do that in order to study it. You see, it's just like when you're just like the anatomical model, right? Um, that is necessary so that you can create the spatial, what do you call that, orientation of the human body, right? So that you can have doctors from everywhere. They want to talk about this particular organ in this particular place in the body. They can make those references, right? It's like almost coordinates, right? And so, what is the thing between these two things, right? The anatomical, the what did I call it? That thing,
The
and
anatomy.
yeah, the anatomy, and the systems of the body. It's all for study purposes, to isolate something in order to learn more about it, or to talk more about it, to describe it, to study. It's all having to do with understanding something intellectually. Okay.
Mhm.
But all these things, like in the human body itself, these things are not separate. You see, the endocrine, the lymphatic, the integumentary system, the this, the that, they're all, they're not
It's
separate.
part of the human body.
It is the
It's of
it
the
just
functioning.
is. Yes, it just is. The reality of it
Mhm.
is, you see. It's only when we need to describe it that we have to categorize, classify, separate, and all that stuff. And then, yeah. So,
That was
yes.
beautifully explained because I was just like, I have my way with words too, but it's just like certain things I'm bloop, I hit a wall and I'm like, what? I know this thing, but then how do I
Yeah.
explain it?
Right, right.
So
But
that
yeah,
was really beautiful because
yeah.
it is very much so like I think a lot of us who are more aware of how we are just one,
Mhm,
but at the same time to explain it in
mhm,
separate pieces so that way we
mhm.
can understand it,
Yes,
you know,
yes, yes,
separately, but it's all one function.
yes.
Because without the soul, there's no energy
Mhm,
to keep the body
mhm, mhm,
animated.
mhm,
It's just
mhm,
it's a corpse essentially.
mhm,
And
mhm.
so, yeah, that was beautiful. You blow
So
me
there.
away. And then Jewel says sciences in general are kind of like that as well. Even religions are like different
Mhm,
sciences,
mhm,
etc. Yes,
mhm,
very much
mhm,
so. And I think that's very much what we want to talk about on this in this series is very much like the spiritual, the how it relates to mental health, how it relates to medicine, how it relates to our physical well-being.
mhm,
Because when our spirit is broken, our
mhm,
physical is also it shows because our body speaks and
mhm,
tells us, hey, this is broken. This
mhm,
needs to be mended. And it's the
mhm,
spirit, the soul.
mhm. Yep.
So beautiful. I get excited whenever I talk to you and Jules because it's like, oh yeah, this is what I wanted to talk about too. And most of the time, it's if I talk to myself, I just hit a wall because it's hard because we are so much, um, we're humans, we're creatures of what is it, connection.
Mhm.
And without that
Yes, I
connection, there's no energy that can bounce off, and we can't
mhm.
really
Yes, yes.
have conversations. So yes, this is exactly that's why I was like, the first meeting, I I'm still blown away. I'm still like at loss of words because I was just like, oh, this is it. This
Mhm,
is really what I've been wanting to share and talk about. But
mhm,
it's challenging. Like what probably for you too. It's hard to do it when you're just sitting there and talking
mhm.
to a screen by yourself.
No, no, absolutely. It's like I don't know how many times I've said that I'm going to start my video blog, and I would do it for a little bit, and then I would stop because, not enough energy input from other
Synergy, yeah.
people, right?
Yeah,
Because,
synergy is required.
yeah, and the thing is, like, for example, for me also, I do a lot of writing and I post a lot, and even the videos and whatever, but a lot of the things I think that I write about are pretty deep, and so people don't want to just give feedback just like that because I've just written something so deep and they feel like they need to say something deep back. But then, it's hard to do that, right? So then I get no responses and then I'm like talking to a brick wall.
Yeah.
But I know that people do read because, somewhere down the road, I mean, why are they even coming back to me, right? So they must like me. They must read the stuff that I put out because every now and then I do get feedback like just out of the blue somewhere like private and whatever. But like the stuff that I post online, you don't see a lot of reactions or whatever. But that's because I think I just put out a lot of food for thought. It's just a lot, and I know that I'm very intense in my own way.
Well, I mean, just be you.
Yeah.
That's the medicine for you. It's like as long as you express it in one way or another,
Mm-hmm.
it'll be
Yes.
helpful and healing
Yeah.
for your soul. So
Yeah.
so be it.
Yeah, but the thing is, while it's good to be like that, it also there's also the need for people like me, people like you, and others like us to have that feedback, that that sounding board to kind of bounce off each other, because we are social creatures, like you said, so we need that. So yeah, so this is really 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 good on many levels.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. And I mean, could probably go on and on more, but I think it's probably good for now, eh? To
Hmm.
Yeah, because
Yeah. I think it's good for now. Maybe if we have some kind of structure topic, or if there's something that went on during the week
hmm
before we
hmm
do another recording, or
hmm
if I go back to some of your sharings and stuff like that,
and you
I
have more
think we
questions, yeah.
yeah, we can pull from that. And then Jules, if you're inspired by anything, just chime in like you have been. And
Oh,
what did she say? You would
she
need to
said,
create imaginary friends to do that.
but talking, having that sounding
No,
board.
I'm not that crafty yet.
That's what she does. That's what Jules
it's
does.
it's a it's a lot. I used TV back in the day for my escape.
I actually had imaginary friends when I was young. Yeah, I did.
I didn't. I was too scared. I think I saw spirits and then I ended up just blocking my ability for
uh,
sight. But I still
yeah,
see other things, which it's like it still creeps in.
yeah.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I've seen what is it? Now this is going like real deep, but I've seen people who have not necessarily see them, but it's almost like I feel their people who just passed away, and it's almost like they want to say something to their loved ones, or
hmm
I've helped them pass crossover because I'm like, why am I why are you here? You need to cross over, like go. And they're like, no, I needed it. I was like, oh my gosh. So I would sense that, and I've had almost debates with a person who just passed away, and I'm like, why am I debating in my head? Am I going crazy? And this is
Yes.
when my spiritual abilities just opened up in Hawaii,
Yeah.
and that's why Hawaii is like my place that feeds
hmm
my soul.
hmm
I have some kind of deep connection with Hawaii. Um, yeah, a lot of crazy stuff happened there.
hmm
That's for another time, another story.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know that I have a Hawaiian name, right? And so does Jules actually.
I had
Oh wait, she wrote some stuff.
She said I had no friends as a kid, so I made my own. Hey, whatever works. I was also a kid that was floating around. Kids would acknowledge that I existed, but other than that, it's like okay. And then she said, now I have maladaptive daydreaming disorder. And she says, Mom does that too, talk to spirits. Yeah, I've realized that when your body's in fight or flight and your soul is, recovering or coming back together in a sense, it's almost like when you go through traumatic experience, to me, how I see it in my mind's eye, it's almost like your soul kind of just goes through an explosion. And it takes some time for your soul to like magnetically come back together. But when it's going through that explosion, the spiritual abilities kind of get dampened. It's not as strong. It's I don't really talk to spirits or souls or whatnot now, but I do sense them, just not in a way where it's like they're talking to me and I'm having a debate in my mind's eye with them. I don't know if what do you sense about that? Is that kind of how would you explain that? Like when people go through traumatic experiences.
Hmm. Well, okay. There's a lot of things that I would have to know more about, but I do know a lot of sensitive people with the kind of gifts that you're talking about,
Hmm.
and I believe that we have the seed of our gifts. Um, they come up when we're young, when we're in our youth, and sometimes people get really scared about their gifts and they shut it off, right? But the problem with shutting it off is that um, it's actually not good. It's kind of like that whole thing about lack of self-expression, right? So then you
Hmm.
are not expressing something that needs to be expressed, and it's kind of like how when you're breastfeeding, right? And the breast will create milk when there's a baby, right? It's
Hmm.
meant for that, right? But if there's no baby, then the breast continues to produce the milk, and then it becomes engorged, right? So again, that's not good, right? So it has to be expressed. So in other words, stuck energy, whether it be trapped emotions or or um, or gifts, okay, that are not understood and therefore not appreciated, is will accumulate inside until it bursts or does other bad things. So therefore, my point is this, okay? When you are able to understand yourself better, then you will also understand your gifts.